right, everybody, welcome to One Nation of Sports Locker Magazine Extra. I am your host, Kirk DeMars, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've got a great program, and it's going to be even greater if one of you will take me up on the offer I'm going to give here in just a little bit. But tonight we have on the program Tyler Kloeppel, a former standout, three-sport standout at Fatima High School. And he is getting ready to attend college, so he's doing all the different things that he needs to do this summer. He's working hard. We'll find out from him what he's doing. And I'm like, I just really wouldn't want to be doing that right now, but somebody's got to do it, and I'm thankful that he is. But he's going to have a little bit of a family vacation kind of thing, and then he's getting ready for the next stage in his life. And so we're excited to be able to interview him tonight amidst his busy schedule. Tyler, I don't know if you know that or not, but he was the cover of Sports Locker magazine for the May-June issue. And I wanted to point something out just in case you didn't understand this either. But this QR code right there, if you will scan that with your phone, we have, and I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, something that we did when we were doing his photo shoot. So we got a video of Tyler as he's out there getting his photos taken. As you can see, my daughter and son-in-law were out there. My daughter does an excellent job. We like to call Jay the sassy tripod because that's typically what he is. I'm the portable tripod, but he's the sassy tripod. You can also see that if you go to our website on sportslockermagazine.com. And just a nice little time that we had with Tyler as we were doing his photo shoot and getting ready to do his feature for the cover article. So I'm not going to talk anymore right now. I want you to hear what he has to say. But one thing I do want to ask you in the comments, if you have any questions or you want to make comments concerning Tyler or anything that you want to say or questions you want to ask, feel free to jump in and do that. I also want to throw this out. If you want to come on with us live on the program, I'm going to have one of you do it if you are able. In just a few moments, I'm going to go ahead and copy the link for you to get into the program, and we will bring you on to ask a couple of questions if you're wanting to do that. So again, it'll be the first person that says, "Yeah, that's me. I want to do it," and then we'll copy that link for you. All right. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring Tyler onto the program. Tyler, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How you doing, Kirk?
I am doing great. Hey, thanks for taking out some time and coming on here and hanging out with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and tell them what you're doing for work? I mean, in the heat of the day today, I mean, it's hot out, right? What are you out doing?
I am roofing. So we're putting on metal roofs, rubber roofs, shingles. The shingles are not really our crew's much, but we do mostly metal and rubber for our crew.
Okay. And how hot is that compared to somebody just walking on the ground?
It gets pretty hot up there. I'm not gonna lie. You need a lot of water.
Yeah. But you did say there's one positive out of it. Why don't you go ahead and tell them what that positive is? The tan. Getting a tan,
Oh
right?
yeah, you get a pretty good tan going.
I told you it didn't matter for me anymore at age 58. I'm done with doing all that. Now I need to make sure I don't get burnt. Uh, hey, so what did it mean to you about being on the cover of Sports Locker? And did you have friends coming up and saying, "Hey, let me have your autograph" and stuff like that?
I did have a few actually. They're like, "Oh, can I get an autograph? I guess you're famous now." But
Yeah,
I got a
that's
lot
cool.
of pictures of people. I got one picture of one person that's like, "Why are you in my mailbox?" Because I got the newspaper in the mail, so I'm like, I guess I'm famous.
Yeah, there you go.
It was
Why
pretty
are you
cool
in my
though, just
mailbox?
like seeing my face everywhere.
Yeah, that's great. Uh, why don't you go ahead and share with us a little bit about graduating and what are some other things that you're doing besides working right now?
I mean, graduation was pretty cool because it's like you worked 4 years to get there, and it's like I graduated like I wasn't top of my class, but I was relatively high up there. So I worked pretty hard, like academically and athletically. So I was pretty proud of my GPA after that came out. So that was definitely a pretty big accomplishment for me. But other things that I do in my free time right now is after work I'll usually go to the gym and lift, and then I'll run for college running.
Hmm.
Training has already started for that, so lifting straight into running, and then I come home or go hang out with friends usually.
Hmm. Would you describe that a little bit as far as what, so for instance, like you said, college training is going on right now. Is that something basically that they send you that you're just supposed to follow the program, or how does that all work?
Yeah, they sent out a PDF, and it's like it gives you like percentages of your goal. So at the very beginning of the summer, you pick a goal of like how many miles you want to be running in the week by the end of the summer. So I picked like 50 miles in a week. So then you follow their routine, like, oh, week one you run like 30 to 40% of your mileage, and they like kind of like lay it out how many miles you're gonna run a day. So then it just slowly builds up to your peak at the end of the summer. So by the end of the summer, it's like I'll be running like 50 miles a week.
Wow. Well, I will tell you that I probably drive 50 miles a week, but that's it. I'm not running 50 miles a week. That's pretty insane. And how hard is it right now doing that during this type of heat? Do you do it early in the morning, in the evening? How do you do that?
I'll go to I'm lifting at the gym already, so I'm already there. So I'll just run on like either the treadmills or whatever. So I'm in the AC when I'm
Okay.
running.
Oh, okay. Okay.
On Saturdays, I will get up early though and go run outside though whenever I
Okay.
can, because when you have to get to work at like 6 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, it's kind of hard to get up way earlier than that to where you could run.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be dead all day on the roof.
Yeah. And you don't want to fall off the roof, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
Tyler, you've been busy throughout your career working on three sports. Um, Now, when I was in high school, I did four sports, three during the year and then one during summer with baseball. But tell everybody about the demand on your time and your body when it came to doing those three different sports and just kind of going from one into the other.
Uh, well, I mean, cross country, it definitely takes a lot of time because you start your mileage pretty much early in the summer. So it's like all summer you're running, like you're running every single night, 6 days a week. You get Sundays to rest, and then but 6 days a week when you're running, it makes you pretty tired a lot of times. But your body kind of gets used to that over time. So like it doesn't really affect me at this point. I'll go out and run. It's like, and that's just the normal to me at this point. Wrestling, however, it's wrestling has a big toll on your body. Between cutting weight and the practices, it like you're constantly having some kind of just small injuries nagging at you, whether it's like a jammed finger, like jammed toe, pulled muscle or something like that, and you just kind of wrestle through it. And the cutting weight's really bad. Like that's probably the worst part about wrestling is cutting weight. I despise that.
Yeah. So how much was it that you typically had to cut? I mean, you said that you wrestled at 138 pounds. How much would you usually have to fight to cut?
uh, this year when it wasn't my worst year cutting, I wouldn't say. My sophomore year was probably the worst because that's whenever I was like that was my very first year wrestling, and I probably naturally weighed like 130, 135,
Mhm.
and I cut down to 120 that year. So it was like 10, 15 pound cut. But just because I was new to it and I wasn't really used to it, it was pretty tough doing that. And so I remember like there were some nights I was like, man, I'm so hungry right now, but it's like, oh, we have weigh-ins tomorrow, so it's like, like you can't just gorge on food and all that.
Right. And you probably burned your calories quite a bit as far as just through your metabolism and stuff. But still, I mean that's a tough thing. You got to deal with like water weight and all those types of things, don't you?
Yeah,
Okay, so guys, notice I put the link up in the window and it's in our comment section. So if any of you, I mean, if you're up for it and you want to pop on here on the program and show us your awesome face and ask a couple of questions, you feel free to go ahead and do that, and I will bring you into the program. I'm just looking for that brave person that's willing to do that. So we'll wait to hear from you, and looking forward to having somebody come on and join us. All right. I mean, that's kind of dangerous too, isn't it, Tyler? I mean, we never know. I mean, what family member might want to pop on and say some embarrassing things about you? I don't know.
yeah, you never know with that one.
Maybe they would have more fun during the speed round when, I ask some pretty pointed questions and they might tell me a little bit more about your habits. I don't know. But we'll go ahead and continue on with this part. Um, let's talk about your three sports and start with wrestling. Uh, you had a sixth place finish this at state this last year in a 138-pound class. Tell us about that experience and what that all felt like when you were at the state tournament.
So day one, it's a 2 day tournament. So day one, I won my first two matches, and I knew already that I was going to get six. So I was very happy. Like I remember after my second match, I didn't even know I'd won it at first because it was a very close match. I looked over at my coach and I pointed at myself. I was like, "Did I win?" And he's like, "Yeah, you won." And I was freaking out. I was so happy after that, like borderline crying and stuff, because I was like, I'd never placed at state in
Yeah.
wrestling, so I was super happy. But like, so I was like the entire way out of the stadium that day, I was super happy, on top of the world. The next day though, I lost all three of my matches. I hit the
Okay.
semi slide all the way from the front side of the bracket all the way down to six,
Uh-huh.
which that's a pretty devastating thing to go through
Sure.
because it's
Sure.
like you just going, it's like match after match, you just keep losing, and it's like man, this sucks. And even in some of those matches, it's like like my second match on the second day, I lost by 1 point.
Hmm.
So that's the difference between like going for third place, going for fifth place, and I felt like I could have won that. So I was beating myself up pretty hard for that one.
Hmm.
And then my fifth and sixth place match, it was a pretty good one, but the guy, he got the better of me definitely. But I felt like both those matches were matches I could have won.
Hmm.
The in the semis, that guy was just better than me. There's no doubt in my mind. That guy beats me 100 out of 100 times. He
Yeah.
destroyed me.
Yeah. That's all right though. Did you ever do club wrestling at all?
No, I started my sophomore year. First time I'd ever touched a wrestling mat.
Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to bring up because a sixth place finish in state without doing club wrestling, that's pretty impressive because a lot of those guys have been doing wrestling for a long time, and that's just what they do, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that definitely says something about Fatima's wrestling program and the work ethic
Absolutely.
that we have. I mean, I think Kurt and Dalton, they do a great job of coaching us. I mean, they put a lot of time and effort into it, whether it's during the summer camps, open mats, during like they take time out of their day to go and coach you, which is great. Plus all the Stropes. I mean, all the Strope brothers and even some of the alumni from Fatima, they'll come in just like during the winter practices or whatever, just help you drill and stuff. Like there's a couple of the Stropes that are like one of them's an All American. He's insane at wrestling, but he'll come and coach us sometimes. He'll teach us a few moves, and I think that definitely adds to our program a lot.
Yeah. So let's see, your coach Kurt Strope, right?
Yeah,
He had him, and then he had his brothers come in behind him. I mean, they had like a whole line of them there for a while, didn't they?
yeah. It was kind of a lineage.
Yeah. What do you appreciate about Coach Strope?
I mean, he was always like very realistic with you. Like I remember my sophomore year, he told me he's like, I don't want you to get a bad taste of wrestling from cutting weight. But then I was thinking, I was like, well, if I don't cut weight, everyone's gonna be way bigger than me, and I'm not good enough to beat them. So it's like I'm cutting weight. He'd highly discouraged me from cutting weight that year. So I mean,
Hmm.
for a coach to do that, I think that says something about him. He doesn't care about necessarily like you winning, like you like doing crazy against these other like
Hmm.
120s. He cares about you learning the stuff and enjoying it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that's good that he worked with you and didn't want to force you to do something that wouldn't have been good for you. So that's
Yeah.
that's a good coach doing that. Okay, now let's talk about this. How different is it transitioning from cross country to wrestling and then to track? Are there are there changes in your diet, training routines, and habits? I mean, what goes on in that transition from one to the other?
Oh yeah. So from cross country season, I am absolutely gorging myself every day. I eat so I couldn't even tell you how many calories I eat in a day. It's insane because it's like you're running so much. It's like you're gonna burn them all off. So it's like you may as well just eat everything. So I would eat a lot during cross country, and then you go straight to wrestling where you're eating nothing. So it's like polar opposites. And then you go straight from wrestling where you're eating nothing to like the other polar opposite, eating a ton. So it's like my diet would just like fluctuate just from the few months every year, just what I was eating. And that I feel like that definitely is probably not healthy, but it's like that's just how it is.
No, and especially when you get as you get older, you recognize no, that's not good at all because it just wants to keep adding on, and it's harder to take it off.
Yeah.
Um, so was probably wrestling. I guess that would probably be the toughest transition going from the food that you were eating, and then having to just really watch your diet and cut at that point. That would probably have been the more difficult time, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like cutting during wrestling, like cutting is just the worst part of the sport.
Yeah.
That's just simply that's a pretty easy. I'd say a lot of the wrestlers would agree with that.
Yeah. I know that, and I don't know if they do this anymore at all, but I know that back, and I can't even tell you how long ago it was, but I know that they used to have them put on those different hot suits and stuff like that just to try to sweat that stuff down. Is that anything that you guys had to do?
Well, putting on like trash bags and stuff, that is actually not allowed.
That's
So
what I was gonna
we're
say. I know that that's not right. Yeah.
like we didn't have hot suits or anything. We would pretty much get hoodie and sweats, and you put on like two or three hoodies and a couple pairs of sweatpants,
Yeah.
and you'll tuck your hoodie into your sweats and then like tie your drawstrings real quick, like
Yeah.
really tight, and to where just like it just traps all the heat in there, and
Hmm.
it it gets really hot really fast, and you could sweat off a lot of pounds in like just an hour and a half of practice.
Yeah. You're making me hot even thinking about that. I I can't imagine doing that. I know what it's like just having one sweatsuit on and a hoodie. Um, all right, now tell us about cross country. In your article in Sports Locker, you talked about your freshman year coming into kind of a team dynasty with 9 consecutive state trophies, a fourth place or better finish. Talk about that.
I think that definitely set a standard for the group of seniors I was with. Me and the Codys and stuff. And Harrison. It's Harrison wasn't around for that year, but I think even our work ethic imprinted on him some work. So like our work ethic from there, it was through the roof. I don't think anyone was as motivated as we were. We worked like day in day out running just because we wanted to be the best, because we had been the best at one point, and after sophomore year coming off of just winning state to our team not even qualifying, losing all those seniors, that I think that took a pretty big hit to us, and we realized that we were gonna, if we ever want to get a team to state again, we need to step it up, and we trained very hard for all 4 years. Our group of seniors, I think they worked as hard as they could, and we ended up making it state again this year as a team, and we placed I think 10th, and we had the same average 5K time as when we won state. It's just the fact
Mhm.
that class three's just gotten that much more competitive over the past few
Right,
years.
right. Yeah, it is extremely competitive, and everybody's always going to be gunning for the top guy, and you guys have been that for a long time, and so people are constantly setting you all up as the standards and coming after you. So, but great job. We're going to get into talking about a little bit more about that in a second. I went ahead and put that link up again because we've had a few more people join in, and I wanted to tell anybody out there that's brave enough to get that link, copy it, and then go ahead and go on to that link, fill out your information, and then I will bring you into the program when you call in. We're going to be able to take one person. So the first person that does that, go ahead and do that, and we'd be happy to bring you on to ask Cody some or Tyler some questions. So um, we'll see who's brave, Tyler. What do you think? Who's it going to be? All right. Hey, so talk a little bit about your hard work and training that you achieved. Some really good things. You had a personal best at state with a time of 17:07, and that was a full minute faster than your junior year in cross country. Talk a little bit about that and just what kind of accomplishment that was for you.
I was definitely expecting big things this year in cross country because my junior year in track, I it was a pretty big breakout year for me. I mean, I went from a 205 800 to a 156, so I was kind of expecting to be like significantly better, and that did end up happening because the very first race of the season, I'm trying to think of what the time I ran, but I either ran a PR or very close to my PR, and then like the very next week I ran like a 17:30. So I was like, early in the season, I was like, we're in the best shape of our life right now. I mean, I was very confident in running at that point, but I ended up getting down to a 17:07 by state, which that only is possible really. I mean, that kind of improvement just from running day in day out. I mean,
Yeah.
that there is to cross country really. I mean, you just got to put in the work and put in the miles. Like during the summer, like summer training, that makes your entire season. Like you got to build a
Mhm.
strong base. I mean, even though it kind of sucks, like you get home from work or whatever, and it's like, oh, I have to go run 5, 6 miles or whatever it is for that day. It's like you just got to suck it up and go get it done. Otherwise, and all when you're thinking, oh, I wish I was faster, all this blah blah blah, you don't have any excuses like, oh, I should have put miles in on this day. I shouldn't have skipped my run that day. It it definitely like it gives you no second thoughts really. I mean, is if you run every single day and you put in your miles, you know you did the best you possibly could. Which I'm confident my senior year I did the best I could in cross country.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your teammates and just kind of how you guys pushed each other.
So we like the group of seniors we had, we came in freshman year. We held each other pretty well accountable. We'd always be asking each other, "Oh, did you run this day? Did you run this day? Blah blah. How many miles did you run?" Because we were very competitive with each other, and I think this applied to a lot of the team really, because it's like they see you doing this and they start doing the same. So whenever everyone's just got that competitive spirit, kind of, it's like everyone wants to beat everyone. So it's like even at practices, we're running a workout. It's like you're like, oh, I got to beat this guy. Like I remember one of my teammates, Cody Campeter. Every single year we went back and forth. So like freshman year, he was always better than me, and I'd beat him occasionally. Sophomore year, I'd beat him a lot of times, and he'd beat me occasionally. Junior year, he beat me all the time. Like then senior year, I was beating him. So we went back and forth all 4 years, and I think me and Cody, we ran a lot of we during cross country. We were kind of like a little like duo almost. At
Yeah.
practice, we'd always run together, and I think we pushed each other to be our very best.
That's awesome. That's important. You in a successful program, that's what you have taking place, and I would even say that in sports in general. You can look at the Royals, the start that they had this year in baseball. One of the things that I heard people talking about was that each one of the starting pitchers would get out there and try to one up the other starters on the team. They were going deep into innings, and they were just trying to get the win and have a better record than the others. So they started off real good. Now, of course, they've hit a little bit of slide here, and of course now the Cardinals are coming up. So it's you never know. Baseball's a crazy sport. Um, but one of the things that another thing that builds a successful program are the coaches. Now, would you tell us a little bit about the hardworking coaches that you have for cross country as well as track and field?
So yeah, so for cross country, Bridges and Maxwell, they put it like during this every single I think like Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and even yeah Tuesdays too. So like 4 days a week, they're coming into school and they're coming to practice because we meet. That's when the high school would meet up. So I mean, they're taking the time out of their nights during the summer. Whenever they're a teacher, they can be off if they wanted. They could be doing whatever they wanted. They're taking their time, their own personal time to come out and just to coach us. And I think that kind of attitude towards them always being there. Like I couldn't tell you like hardly any times that they would skip. If they did skip, it was very rare. Like they probably went to more. They'd go be at more practices than I would, and it kind of that's also kind of set the standard just to show up and run.
Yeah,
And then Maxwell, he also would before every single meet, he'd show up early and make us all pancakes before every cross country meet. So I mean, he'd wake up early, go buy pancake ingredients, all this, so I mean, so we'd have fuel for the race. I mean,
awesome.
I don't think our program would be anywhere without those two.
All right.
And then
So did coach throw the pancakes, flip them in the air? You had to catch them. Did he do anything like that?
I wish he would have done that. That would have been pretty cool, but he just made them. They were probably some of the best pancakes I ever had, though.
That's awesome. That's good. When my daughter Katie, who was a photographer that came out and took your photos, and my son-in-law Jay, when they got married for their wedding reception, we had a place called what was it, Chris Cakes out of St. Louis, and they came and they were known for throwing the pancakes to you on your plate out where you were, kind of like Lambert's. And I was thinking, man, this is going to be a mess, but everybody was catching their pancakes on their plate, so it works out good. I can see Coach making you guys okay. I'm gonna fling it. You run and catch your food. Part of your workout. All right, Tyler. We've gone through the first half. Let's go ahead and take a quick sponsor break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Services has been connecting employees with employers since 1977. Recently, CNS rebranded to CNS Employment Solutions to more clearly define their mission of serving the needs of applicants, employees, and businesses while remaining current and evolving with the changes in the workforce. One important thing has not changed. CNS Employment Solutions partners with a wide variety of employers, placing employees in jobs that match their skills and needs.
Say yes to CNS.
All right, CNS Employment Solutions, Paula Benny and her team, they do wonders in making sure that people are able to get locked into jobs, as well as employers finding a workforce to be able to fill those positions. They do an outstanding job, and they do an outstanding job as being the sponsor for Sports Locker Magazine, as well as sponsoring this program. They've been with us from the beginning, and we appreciate them. Also, Big Whiskeys, they sponsor our Coach of the Issue. And as Tyler was talking about the importance of the coaches that he's had through cross country, wrestling, and track and field, those people put so much time into our student athletes, making them not only better athletes, but helping to mentor them to be better people. So we appreciate everything that they do, and we appreciate Big Whiskeys for just giving a shout out to our coaches right here in Mid Missouri. All right, we've had a great interview so far with Tyler. And, I've noticed that none of you have taken me up on the offer to come on and ask him questions live. So that's okay. If you want to ask them in the comments section, go ahead and do that, and I'll go ahead and bring that on here. But right now, let's go ahead and get back to Tyler. All right, Tyler, we're getting close. We're halfway done, and then we've got the speed round, which we're going to ask some fun questions there too. But why don't you tell us about your final year in track and field as a Comet? What were your goals, and how many of those did you meet?
I'd say I had three major goals my final year. I wanted to break the school record in the 800. I wanted to potentially win state in the 800, and I wanted to have an all-state 4x8. I actually met none of those. So, I mean, I still consider my season very successful with the times I ran.
Absolutely.
And the kind of like I was pretty bummed out at first, right after state. But then I kind of remembered a corny quote from one of my teammates that he told me during cross country. He was talking about winning state again this year, and he's like, "Guys, even if we don't win, we'll still get like a state banner." And he came up with a quote: "Even if you shoot for the moon and miss, you still end up in the stars." It's a very corny quote, but it stuck with me.
Yep, that was good. Well, I mean, you finished third place in state 2 years in a row in the 800 meters, and um, even though you didn't get the school record, you were very close with the second fastest time ever. So why
Yeah.
don't you share a little bit about that and how important that was for you?
Uh, I mean, putting in like that much work to like I PR'd by 0.01 seconds at state this year, and I beat my PR from state the previous year.
Hmm.
So just getting a PR, that's a significant accomplishment. Just because you put the work in, you put the hours in, and even if I didn't break the school record, it's still just great that I'm able to compete at that level because there's a lot of people that aren't able to do that, even to
Right.
get the run at state, even get past districts. Like some people, their season ended at districts, so to get 2 extra weeks tagged onto my season, that's
Hmm.
kind of just an honor almost.
Well, you guys with your 4x800 meter relay team, you did. I mean, you did set the fastest time in school history, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. So tell us about that and how fun that was uh, accomplishing that with your teammates.
uh, well, I mean, going through that was I think I got the baton in like 12th place or something like that, and I was like, well, I won an all state 4x8, so I went out kind of stupid fast. My first lap was a 54,
Uh-huh.
and I ran a 154 that day,
Yeah.
and so that's probably the most painful 800 in my life. The last 100 was kind of a blur, but the build up to state, going through districts and sectionals with that 4x8,
Hmm.
it just kind of felt nostalgic almost because I remember freshman and sophomore year having a 4x8, and that was kind of like we called ourselves the dream team.
Uh-huh.
And running with those guys, it was probably some of the most fun I've had in track, just because it's like it's three of like your best friends pretty much, and you just get to
Hmm.
hang out with them all the time because you're always running with them, practicing with them, and it's just an all around good time. So it kind of made me nostalgic of freshman and sophomore year, just getting to run with those guys.
Hmm. So you said you got the baton in 12th place. What leg were you on the relay?
I was the final leg,
Okay. So I want to ask this question. In 12th place, what place did you end up getting to?
ninth. I missed all
Ninth.
state by 1 second.
Yep, I saw that you had missed the eighth place, which would have been all state. So that was close. And but yes, you're exactly right. A 54-second first quarter. That's blazing. And then something's got to give after that, right?
Yeah.
What was your for the ideal race? What kind of splits would you typically want for each of the quarter miles?
So ideally for an 800, what you want to do is you want to have a 2 second positive split between your laps. So say you want to run a 202, your first lap needs to be like a one flat, then you need to run a 102, and that's just kind of
Hmm.
like that's what a lot of guys do.
Hmm.
I negative split a lot, which is kind of I have a very good kick at the end of my
Uh-huh.
races, so that's kind of why I negative split a lot.
Uh-huh.
But if I positive split by 6 seconds, so going out in 54 is a bit hot. I'd
Yeah.
say realistically in my top shape this year, I probably need to be going out like 56, 57 maybe, and then coming back like 58, 59. I think that would have been the ideal race for me. In the open 8, I went out in 58 and came back in like 58, so
Hmm.
I pretty much even split it.
Yeah. Well, that gives our viewers a little bit of better understanding as far as there is some strategy to that. I can remember when I was a freshman in high school, I had set the school record in Salina in middle school for um, the 400. It was the 400-yard dash at that time. So that's telling you how old I am when they were going by 400 yards, not meters. So it was. It was quite a thing. Didn't have the proper coaching at that time, and I get into high school and I'm running that, and I'm going out as fast as I can, and all the time I would die after 300 meters. I'd be way ahead of people, and then people would catch up and pass me. I quit running it until I was a senior. I went ahead and ran it my senior year again, and I had proper coaching at that time, and he taught me a better technique as far as sprinting out the first 100 and then kind of gliding on through to 300 and then kicking in with the sprint again. That made it a lot better when I didn't feel like I was almost having to crawl to the finish line. So it's good having that strategy, right?
Yeah, I remember my first 400 in freshman year. I had the same strategy as you. I just went out and sprinted the entire thing. The last 100, you're seeing stars.
Oh man, it's horrible. It's horrible. It feels like you're running against wind, and I know you've done that. A very strong wind, and no matter how hard you try, there's just nothing left in the tank. It's done. Uh, why don't you go ahead and now tell us about the legacy that you wanted to leave behind at Fatima? You had kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but tell us about the motivational speeches that you gave before competition. And then I want to know about winning the two warm up laps before practice. And then finally, not wearing socks for races. Tell us about those.
Okay, so for the motivational speeches, that's between me and the team. I'm sorry, I can't really share too many details about that. It's a bit personal. But as for the warm up laps, uh, so before track practice, we always have to run two warm up laps, and you just have to win the first two warm up laps. That kind of decides who's the best on the team. Like if you win the first two warm up laps, you're pretty much like the number one person on the team. So that's just it's kind of a silly tradition, but we kind of goof
That's
around
good.
with it.
Yeah.
But then the no socks, I think that started my junior year. I want to say, uh, one time I wore no socks. Actually, kind of started with my dad. My
Uh huh.
dad told me one time he's like, "Yeah, I wore no socks in high school. It makes you run faster." So I was like, "Well, this is gonna work." And so I wore no socks, and I happened to PR in that race. I also got a ton of blisters, and it
Yeah.
hurt for like a week. And my
Yeah.
coach was pissed.
Yeah.
He was telling me how stupid it was. He's like, it's not making you go faster, just blah, 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 all this.
Yeah.
And he was like, this year I did it once, and every time I wore no socks, pretty much I'd either run fast or a PR. So
Yeah,
I ran no socks in cross country and PR'd, got a bunch of blisters, and coach threatened he threatened if I ever ran with no socks again to not put me in the next race. So I had to wear socks up until state, and at state I'm like, there isn't a next race,
that's
so
it.
I wore no socks and PR'd by 30 seconds. So
Okay, there you
I mean,
go.
I think that works. And then during track, an 800 really isn't enough distance to get blisters on your feet.
Uh-huh.
So I never wore socks in track,
Yeah.
and I have there's a few guys on the team with me that are firm believers in the no socks. It
Okay.
does make you run faster.
All right. That's good. Do you think it's mental, or what do you think?
It may just be placebo, but personally, I think it works.
Okay. All right. Very good. And plus, your dad started. You're just trying to be like dad, right? What did you enjoy most about your time at Fatima?
I would say honestly, just the memories and the friends, because I mean, just from your classes, it's like being in the like higher up math classes and stuff. It's like just the people you get to meet, because it's like you get to meet all like the smart people, and then you also get like when you're doing sports and stuff, you get to meet all the athletic people. So it's like just getting the mix of the entire variety of Fatima. That was a really cool experience, just getting to meet everyone.
Tell us about the faculty and just some of the administration. What did you appreciate about them while you were there?
Uh, they all just they all just seemed very open to like just in your opinion almost. It was like the office ladies, they're always good for like a good joke or two. Like they would even share snacks sometimes with me. And then the teachers, like the science, so some of the science department, like Bridges and Kurt, those were the main two teachers I would have for science classes.
Hmm.
They're just they always like their classes would always just be a blast, just because it's like they would kind of egg on like the conversations that we'd have in there with the students, like probably very off topic, but it'd be like they would egg it on sometimes. So it'd be like it was funny just to get their input. And then
Yeah.
same thing in math. It was like we're talking about probably something random like is water wet, or I don't even remember the conversations. Is fire burnable or something? I don't even
Yeah.
know. But the teacher would egg it on, or he'd be like, "You guys are stupid.
Yeah.
We got to learn calculus now."
Well, it sounds like you had fun, but you were a very good student, and that kind of moved into what you're wanting to do as you go to Missouri S&T. Tell us about the field of study, mechanical engineering. Why'd you decide you wanted to choose that?
Uh, well, to start off, everyone in my family is engineers. I mean, it's kind of a family tradition to be going to engineering. So I mean, that set a little seed in my brain at a young age to go into engineering. And then I realized I was good at math too. So it's like, oh, this is a solid option for me. And then as you look into it more, it's like you get to use a creative aspect of your brain and the nerd math aspect of your brain at the same time. So it's just like that's just kind of what I like doing. You get to design and build stuff and like solve problems, which
Yeah,
that's just what I enjoy.
we're good. Very good. Um, while you're going to school and studying that, you're also going to be competing in cross country and track and field. Tell us about that and what you're excited about that part in the next level.
I'm excited because I won't necessarily have to cross train at all. Wrestling, like, I don't think it's a, I don't think wrestling is necessarily the most beneficial sport to distance running. I really enjoyed wrestling, but it's like whenever you take those 3 months off and everyone else is running and you're just wrestling keeps you in very good shape, but it's not like it's not like the aerobic base buildup that going out and running 6 miles is necessarily. So I think that I'm excited to see what kind of times I can run whenever I'm going to be running year round. So it's like I won't have a break really at all.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of to see how good a shape I can get in.
Yeah, that was another thing that I wanted to point out earlier when you were talking about the transition going from wrestling, cross country to wrestling, and then wrestling to track. Um, again, a lot of student athletes that may be focusing on just one sport, and they're just spending all year trying to get ready for those particular competitions that they're in for that. Yours is not quite that way. You're competing differently in different ways in other sports. So I think that's an outstanding job that you did, placing sixth in wrestling and two third place finishes your junior and senior year on the 800 meters. I think that's an outstanding job. So very well done. All right, this is the important question. I mean, this is what they have been waiting for. You need to talk to us about your family and what you appreciate about your parents and siblings.
Oh, all right. So as for my parents, like they like this is the amount of time they would put in, like because every season you get a new running shoe or whatnot. It's like they're usually kind of pricey. My parents would pretty much pay for all that. Like I don't think I've ever bought a running shoe out of my own pocket. So a good pair of running shoes can prevent an injury. So I mean,
Yeah,
just having that fund, it helps a lot. I mean, just to get the supplies you need, whether it's a knee pad in wrestling, wrestling shoes, just making sure you have the stuff to compete. That is a major factor because if you don't have a pair of wrestling shoes, how are you going to wrestle?
right, absolutely.
And then having just like a knee pad, it prevents injuries and stuff. And if you're injured, you're not going to be wrestling, so you can't practice, and it kind of snowballs.
Yeah, absolutely. What about siblings?
Siblings, I'd say my older sisters, they kind of set a standard. My sister, one of them was an all-state cross country runner, and the other one, she helped her team place in soccer 2 times. So they each had some state medals under their belt. So I mean, going into high school, it's like, oh, yeah, I want one of those.
Yeah.
And then I have one little brother who does the same sports as me. So he does cross country wrestling and track also.
Okay.
So having him around, kind of just like we have a wrestling mat in our basement, so it's like whenever you want to wrestle, we can just go wrestle each other, and we're pretty similar weight classes at this point because
Okay.
he's got some height on me a little bit.
All right. How
So,
old is he compared to you?
he's gonna be a junior this year,
Okay.
so he's 2 years younger.
Yeah. I don't get that height thing, being you're older and then, the younger sibling growing taller. I mean, I was taller than my brother all the way through until my senior year. He was a junior, and over the summer he went from being shorter than me. I was 5 foot 5'10" and a half, I think, when I had hair. Now I'm 5'10", but he was shorter than me, and then senior year he was a junior. He shot up to 6'3". I'm like, what happened? I could have used the height. What's the deal with that?
Yeah,
I
that's kind of the
definitely,
exact same case for me
yeah,
because last year at some point I was taller than him, and then he shot up over the summer during the year at some point. Now he's like a solid 4 inches taller than me.
yeah. You know what really is making me feel small now. So my grandson, you met my daughter and my son-in-law when we did your photo shoot, but my grandson, he is 13 years old now, and he's taller than me.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know what they're
just
feeding those kids these days.
that's just not right. Just not right. But he's taller than his dad too, so that's the good thing. All right, you've done an outstanding job. Let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. We got just a couple of speed round questions I want to ask you. So, what you talked about, you like to eat. What is your favorite go-to snack or food after a cross-country meet, or I mean, just whatever?
Probably like a bowl of cereal. Honestly, I like
Okay.
cereal a lot.
All right. What's your favorite cereal?
Ooh, honestly, probably Cheerios or like Crave or something like the little
Okay.
chocolate ones or
Okay.
Lucky Charms.
All right. Magically delicious. There you go. Um, Now you mentioned pancakes. What kind of pancakes do you like? I mean, do you just like your pancakes plain, or do you like them with fruit in them, or what, or different kinds of syrup? How do you like them?
I like blueberry, and you have to have syrup. Blueberry's the only right answer, and you have to have syrup on them, and then you can have like a side of strawberries usually with that. That's
Okay,
usually what my go-to is.
I will agree with you on the blueberry pancakes. That's my favorite. Go with that too. All right, now this is an important question too. What chore do you dislike doing the most around the house?
Mm, probably feeding the chickens.
Okay. Why do you dislike feeding the chickens?
Because I have to go outside, go through the garden, and then you have to unlatch this door, and this door is just it's not fun to unlatch. It takes like at least 2 minutes for me to unlatch it.
And that's probably not cool when it's either bad weather out or something like that. You're just like, I can't get the door open. It's like taking a dog out to go to the bathroom and they're taking forever. Um, one more question I want to ask you. If there's anywhere in the world you could go, where would that be and why?
Probably Colorado. Honestly, I really like them. I really like the mountains and snow, so that's kind of like my go-to, honestly.
Okay.
And
Have
just
you
the
been there
nature there is
before?
really nice. Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you go?
Estes Park.
Estes Park. Okay. So again, my daughter and son-in-law, they live in Colorado. That's where they are. They're on the other side of the western slope, and um, I like. It's nice to visit out there, but I wouldn't necessarily want to live there in that part. It's like arid and dry on that side of the mountains, but they love it out there. And there's some beautiful scenery, like going to Ouray, going to Black Canyon, the Painted Mountains. That was pretty amazing. I didn't necessarily care for the drive because there were some seriously steep cliffs off to the side, and I wasn't driving. I don't know about you, but I like to have my hands on the wheel when I'm going through something like that. So, um, all right. Last thing, anything that you want to share with anybody? Thanks or anything along that line before we close out?
Just a thank you to everyone who's ever supported me in a race, cheered me on.
All right. Very good. Everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Tyler, I'm going to have you hold on for just a minute as I close out the program. And thank you so much for joining us. And I'll see you in just a few minutes, okay? All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight on a hot Monday night. It's June 24th, and I think it almost got to 100 degrees out there today. Uh, but boy, talking about an outstanding young man that's been a fierce competitor at Fatima High School, and he's moving on to Missouri S&T, and we wish him all the best of luck there as he's going into a career in mechanical engineering and running in cross country and track and field. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Next week, we will be right back here at 7 o'clock on One Nation, a Sports Locker Magazine Extra. I'm your host, Kirk DeMars. God bless you, and I will see you next week.